Welcome to Mr. Creepy Archive. Today, we're uncovering a series of crime cases so baffling and bizarre, they'll leave you questioning reality. From perplexing disappearances to chilling murders that have defied explanation for decades, these are stories you won't believe are true. Let's dive in. Our first case takes us back to Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia. A house fire broke out in the middle of the night, consuming the Sauter family home. The parents, George and Jenny Sauter, managed to escape, but 5 of their children mysteriously vanished. Despite the intensity of the fire, no remains were ever found, leaving investigators and the family bewildered. Firefighters reported no trace of the children, even though the fire had completely destroyed the home. As the years passed, strange and unsettling things began to happen. The Sauter family received several mysterious phone calls, one of which was from a woman who claimed to know their children were still alive. There were also numerous sightings of the children, but each lead turned out to be a dead end. These eerie events led the Sauters to believe that their children might have been abducted. But by whom and why? Some speculated that the fire had been deliberately set to cover up a kidnapping, while others believed there was a larger conspiracy at play. There were even rumors that local authorities might have been involved in covering up the truth. But after decades of investigation, no one could answer the most chilling question of all. What happened to the 5 missing children? To this day, the disappearance of the Sauter children remains one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in American history. Next, we travel to rural Germany, 1922, where the Hinterkaifeck farmstead became the site of a chilling crime that has haunted investigators for nearly a century. 6 members of the Gruber family were found brutally murdered with a pickaxe in their own home, and the evidence suggested something even more terrifying. Whoever committed this grisly crime may have stayed in the house for days afterward, completely undetected. But who was the killer, and how did they escape unnoticed? Before the murders, there were strange signs that something was wrong. Footprints were discovered in the snow, leading up to the house, but curiously, none leading away from it. The theory that the killer might have hidden in the attic after committing the crime adds another layer of mystery. In fact, some believe the murderer lived in the house for days, eating the family's food and using the barn without ever being discovered. But the most chilling part of this case is the unanswered question of who had access to the house. Despite several theories, ranging from a family member to an unknown intruder, no one has ever been conclusively identified as the killer. Despite multiple investigations and countless theories over the years, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved, continuing to haunt the region to this day. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most famous unsolved murder mysteries in American history, the Black Dahlia. In 1947, Elizabeth Short, a young woman with dreams of Hollywood stardom, was found brutally murdered. Her body was discovered cut in half and left in a vacant lot in Los Angeles, a crime so gruesome it shocked the nation. The case became an immediate media sensation, and to this day, it continues to intrigue investigators and true crime enthusiasts alike. The circumstances surrounding Elizabeth Short's death were horrifying. Her body had been horribly mutilated, and the crime scene was staged to appear deliberate, yet no solid evidence has ever surfaced. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed, but none have been conclusively proven to be her killer. Some theories suggest that Short was the victim of an obsessed fan, while others point to darker ties, including organized crime. The LAPD pursued several leads, but many turned out to be dead ends, and countless false theories were floated, further muddying the waters. For decades, the Black Dahlia case has captivated the public, with new theories and potential suspects still being suggested. Though decades have passed, the true identity of the Black Dahlia's killer remains a mystery, and it's one that continues to captivate the world. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to find your hair mysteriously cut while you slept. This bizarre crime took place in Pascagoula, Mississippi, during the 1940s. Known as the Phantom Barber, this criminal snuck into people's homes under the cover of darkness and cut their hair, leaving behind no trace of his presence. But what drove this strange burglar, and why was he never caught? The Phantom Barber's victims were typically women, and the only thing he took was their hair. In each case, families would wake up to find their hair had been cut during the night, but nothing else had been stolen. The families were left bewildered, with no explanation for the eerie attacks. The police had few leads to follow, and despite an extensive investigation, the case remained unsolved. Some speculated that the criminal might have had a strange obsession with hair or a deeper psychological motivation for his actions. But whatever his reasoning, the Phantom Barber was never caught, and his bizarre spree came to an end as mysteriously as it began. Eventually, the case faded from the public's memory, but the mystery of the Phantom Barber continues to haunt those who remember it. Next, we venture into the eerie world of the high seas. The Mary Celeste was a ship found adrift in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872, completely abandoned. The cargo was still intact, the ship was in perfect condition, yet the crew was nowhere to be found. What happened to them? Was there a mutiny, a supernatural force, or something even stranger at play? When the ship was discovered, it appeared as if everything had been left in a hurry. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, and no distress signals. The ship's cargo, including barrels of alcohol, was undisturbed. But there were no crew members to be found, and no sign of what could have caused them to abandon ship. Numerous theories have emerged over the years to explain the crew's disappearance. Some believe it was a mutiny, others suggest a massive storm may have forced the crew to flee, or perhaps piracy was involved. Yet, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to support any of these theories. Some even speculate that the crew might have abandoned ship due to a sudden crisis, like a leaking hull or a toxic gas release from the cargo. But whatever the reason, the disappearance of the Mary Celeste's crew remains one of the greatest unsolved maritime mysteries to this day. One of the most notorious disappearances in American history is that of Union leader Jimmy Hoffa. In 1975, Hoffa vanished without a trace, and despite years of investigation and countless theories, no one has ever discovered what truly happened to him. Hoffa was last seen outside the Machu's Red Fox restaurant in Michigan, where he was supposed to meet with a group of mobsters. He had been a powerful figure in the Teamsters Union and was known to have close ties with organized crime, but that evening he simply disappeared. Over the years, countless theories have emerged about his involvement with the mob, some suggesting he was betrayed by those he trusted, while others speculate that he might have been murdered to silence him. Investigators have followed leads, conducted interviews, and even exhumed locations, but Hoffa's body has never been found, and no conclusive evidence has ever surfaced to explain what really happened. Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance continues to haunt both the criminal world and the public imagination, leaving a question that still lingers in the minds of many. What happened to the man who once controlled a powerful union? In Cleveland, Ohio, during the 1930s, a brutal killer known as the Mad Butcher terrorized the city. The victims, mostly drifters and homeless individuals, were gruesomely dismembered, with their body parts scattered across the city in a chilling pattern. Despite several arrests and numerous theories over the years, the identity of the killer remains unknown. The victims of the Mad Butcher were primarily male, and their bodies were found in horrific states, dismembered, and in some cases, parts of their bodies were disposed of in different locations, leaving investigators to piece together the puzzle. The brutality of the crimes shocked the public, and fear spread throughout the city. Several suspects were put forward, including a man named Dr. Francis Sweeney, a well-known local figure who was thought to have had a psychological connection to the murders. However, despite being questioned and investigated, no one was ever convicted. The case grew cold, and the identity of the killer remains a mystery. The Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run continues to haunt Cleveland's history, leaving behind only gruesome evidence and a baffling legacy that has never been solved. And finally, we end with a daring and infamous crime, the Great Train Robbery of 1963. A group of thieves managed to steal nearly £3 million from a Royal Mail train in the UK. The crime was expertly planned, and the criminals almost got away with it. But who were they, and how did they pull off one of the greatest heists in history? The criminals had carefully planned every detail of the heist. They managed to stop a Royal Mail train, which was carrying a vast amount of cash, without firing a single shot. They used inside information to know exactly when the train would be passing through and executed their plan with precision. The robbers made off with millions in cash, vanishing into the night with little to no trace. Though most of the robbers were eventually caught, a large portion of the loot was never recovered. The masterminds behind the heist remained a mystery for years, and despite the arrests, The allure of the crime and the fate of the missing money continues to intrigue. The Great Train Robbery remains one of the most successful and daring crimes in British history, leaving behind a legacy of mystery and intrigue that still captivates the public. These shocking crime cases remind us that the truth is often stranger than fiction. Whether it's a bizarre disappearance, an unsolved murder, or a mind-boggling heist, these stories continue to captivate us. Thanks for joining me today on Mr. Creepy Archive. If you enjoyed this collection, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more unsettling true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep questioning the unexplainable.